John Duffy was born in the South Bronx, New York. He's a producer and an actor known for Miracle in East Texas, A Sunday Horse, and Men of Gray, The Flying Squad. He has produced over 25 feature films. His passion is personal empowerment, and he has worked in the motivational field with Tony Robbins and participated in over a dozen firewalks. So, welcome, John. Can you tell us a bit about your journey and how you got into the business?
Absolutely. Well, welcome to everybody who's watching today, and wherever you are, I asked if you get a chance, share a little bit of your story on the chat so we get to know who you are, which would be very cool. But my journey, I have a quote that I love, Lisa, called it's a Helen Keller quote called "Life is a great adventure or nothing at all." And I've been blessed with a great adventure in my life, and where I am to today, as to where I started my journey. Like you mentioned, I grew up in the South Bronx. I dropped out of high school when I was 15 years old, and it was one of the poorest neighborhoods in America. And I went on a journey that eventually, I didn't know that journey was going to take me here because it wasn't like a dream of mine to be in the entertainment industry or anything. And I like to say I've lived so far 7 lifetimes already, and I have a couple more left in me. But one of my lifetimes that a door opened up. I eventually, when I was about 26, went back to, got a GED, went to college, and started studying writing and got into acting. And that opened up a door because I was afraid of acting. I was like a rather shy person. And so all of a sudden I started studying acting to overcome the fear. And I started acting in theater and film and just really threw myself into it. And that became the driving thing that led me to the next step. And the second part of that leading me to the next step was, at the time I ran into Tony Robbins and attended a seminar and did a fire walk. And that just opened up my vision as to what was possible for my life. And I decided at that point, I had been working in the post office as a mail handler for 5 years. And after taking the fire walk, I went back to the post office and decided that I was going to quit and I was going to follow my dreams. And I would never stop ever again. And that journey led me to California. And I was acting when I first came to California. I was also a counselor with runaway kids in Hollywood. And then a door opened up with a co-counselor who wanted me to be a production manager on his rap videos that he was directing. I didn't know what that was. I asked him, he told me, I said, sure, I can do it. Next thing, I was behind the camera, and that's led to the 35 plus feature films that I've produced or line produced. And the line producer, for those who may not know, is the actual hands on producer who creates everything, the schedule for the movie, the budget for the movie, hires the crew, supervises the shoot, and makes the whole project happen. So that's a little bit in a short, brief thing, a little bit of my journey, and it's a lot more, but we'll get into that.
It was
So
really
anyway,
quick.
Lisa.
Yeah, that was a lot really quick. So, how did that firewalk shift your energy?
Well, for two reasons. The whole thing was the metaphor of the firewalk is to overcome fear. Don't let fear hold you back. And it isn't that you can't get burned walking across hot coals, because you can. And just like in life, you can get burned when you do things that you're afraid of, but you shouldn't let the fear paralyze you or stop you from going forward, because you may suffer a risk, whatever that is. In a relationship, somebody may drop you. Your business may collapse. So you just go through the fire. You're willing to step, keep going. So it opened me up to that. And it also, the other thing that I took away, I mean, I took a lot away, but the other thing was to take 100% responsibility for my life. And at that point, by having that belief, I decided that it was up to me whether if I succeed or fail, the good, bad, and ugly was up to me. And so I had to put in the work to get what I wanted in life. And I took 100% responsibility for my life at that point.
Well, you can't really, I guess, if you, it's a metaphor for life. Yeah, it's just like I click, go live here. It's like
Right?
I could have gone, oh my God, I'm too scared. I can't do that. And so that firewalk helped push you through a little bit. And I appreciate that. My thing goes off at 11:11. Laugh and appreciate. I have little reminders, laugh and appreciate, to keep your energy up, right? To keep your
100%. Because no matter what you do in life, and your previous speaker, and I listened to some of that, she was excellent, just on energy as well. Whatever you do in life, you need energy. You start out the day, and if you have energy, you're able to achieve a lot more than if you don't have energy. And that's physical energy and also mental and psychological energy. So by having energy, you have the ability to pursue your dreams, pursue them with passion, pursue them with energy. And part of that is one of the big things I say when I speak, because now, besides producing films, I've also written two memoirs that I'm trying to get published, and I've also done some motivational speaking. And one of the speeches I give is called "Take Two: Give Your Life a Hollywood Ending." And basically, what that means is that you have a choice as to the life you create, just like a screenwriter. A screenwriter creates the screenplay, the story that they want to tell. Well, your life is your screenplay, and you're the screenwriter, and you get to write that life by the decisions you make, the choices you make. You get to have the life that you want. And if you want a Hollywood ending, or if you want a good ending, then you got to take certain choices, just like you would in a screenplay. The character has to go in one direction as opposed to the other direction. So you have that power to do the same with your life. So that's one of the inspirational speeches that I give.
Oh, that's great. That's It's interesting because a lot of people don't know they create their life. They think they're at the effect of everything. And as you start waking up, you understand more and more that it's your energy and your choices. But there's lower level fields, and it took me years to get through a lot of them where it's like I'd want to do something, I'd want to move forward, and all at once, oh, I can't do that. It's like I emailed you guys. I had to go through energies like, oh, don't bother them, or they'll think you're weird, or you're too, who are you to ask these people to speak in this event, and stuff like that. And you just go, okay, and every event it's easier, right? Because I've done it,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. The first time I acted on stage, I was trembling. I was so scared, and I was shaking. I couldn't believe that I was that scared. And what was going to happen? Nothing. But I was scared. And so after you do it the first time and the second time, all of a sudden you start to realize that you start to get excitement to do it because you enjoy it as opposed to fear. And so you just go through it. And you're right. By you reaching out, you just took that action where you could have got paralyzed and not took the action. In which case that would have affected this happening, and we wouldn't be doing this today. But you didn't. You stepped forward and you said, no, I'm going to make this happen, and you did. So congratulations on making that happen.
Oh, well, thank you, John. This is fun. The first one was in January, and I mean, I've been clear my whole life. I'm a psychic. It's like, but the first one was in January, and I had a lot of resistance to sending those emails. And so I contacted people I knew more closely through Toastmasters and stuff. And then the second one, I sent a little more, but I looked for, are these people going to contribute to my group? Do they have something to teach? And are they good on video? Like, right, on Zoom, because you can have somebody who's really good, but they don't want to be on camera or anything. And so I want people to contribute to bringing this awakening consciousness to the world through the entertainment industry without judgment too, because people don't understand, everybody's on different dimensions. So I personally don't watch horror films, and I wouldn't recommend it to anybody, but sometimes people need that energy. They need that to see that if you're on a really low level, they'll say, oh, well, I'm not as bad as they are. My life's not as bad as theirs is, right? So if you don't judge and you go, okay, this is not something I'd create, but it has a place in reality, or it wouldn't exist.
And also within it, I have a friend who, I'm not a horror fan either, but you're right, it has a place. But I have a filmmaker friend who made a horror movie, but and he did such a great job with it. But within it was a moral tale, and basically what the horror film told. And when I watched it at the end, I was blown away. But basically, it was about a couple, and it showed the horror of what was going to happen in their life by a very bad decision by one of the parties in the relationship, and then it turned out that they were able to not go down that path and have a different reality. And so the message was kind of, people who watched it, people came up to him and said it healed our marriage. We were going down the wrong path, and we watched your horror movie, of all things, a horror movie, and they said we reconsidered what we were doing in our life together, and we made a different choice. And now we healed our relationship. And I was like, wow, you could even do that with a horror movie. That's pretty impressive.
That's
That's pretty
amazing.
impressive.
Yeah. I love video games also, and I didn't talk to Marissa about that. And Marissa, if you're listening, I'm sorry I didn't introduce you formally. There was too much going on at the beginning, but
Yeah, you
it's
had a lot going on technically there. I
yeah,
get
technically. But
it.
it's like when you bring enlightenment to the world, you attract people at the level you're at, right? But you don't want to take that energy forward into your own life. So, have you ever played in a horror movie, John?
uh, yes, yes. When I first started my career acting wise, um, the first two roles I played, and I looked different at the time. I had a mustache and a goatee and three earrings, and I was younger, of course. But one of the first roles was a Russian roulette, and I played a Russian. It was like a short film, and it was a Russian roulette, and the other party at the table was the devil, and I ended up getting killed. So yeah, so it was a horror movie, and I ended up getting killed in the movie. And then the second movie I played was not a horror movie, but it was a real life horror movie. So I played a a father who was very abusive. And so the first scene of the movie, I kicked down the door, and my little daughter's there with my wife, and I'm coming in to be abusive. And my wife, who's sitting in the chair, picks up a shotgun and shoots me and kills me.
Oh God.
So that was my first two experiences acting, getting killed. But then it went on to better roles with less. Well, no, matter of fact, my third one I got killed too. So they had me killed in three different movies. But then it kind of drifted to other things, and then I did theater, a lot more theater. I did murder mysteries, just a whole range of things before I shifted behind the camera and became a producer.
Oh, I was in Waterworld, and I played a smoker, and so I had a plastic, well, rubber machine gun. And it was fun. It was like,
Yeah,
it was, so even though, and it wasn't horror, it was like adventure. I don't know what you'd call it, like, because it was
sure.
conflict and shooting. But when you're in it, it's fun. It's
Oh, absolutely. Well, yeah, you're getting to uh, act and have fun, and that's the fun of it. I went on to teach acting for a while too before I moved away from it. But it's a great thing because, once again, like your previous guest, it opens you up, and you begin to open up areas of yourself that maybe you haven't opened up before, in how to communicate with people, how to listen. I studied all the different techniques of acting, Stanislavski, Meisner, Michael Chekhov, you name it. And every technique and every style of acting brings different gifts to you as a person, because they emphasize one style maybe more than another, or a strength. So like in a Meisner technique, you spend more time listening, which worked well for me because I'm an auditory person, not a visual person, where another style of acting appeals more to people who are visual. Because my acting teacher, you always used to tell me, close your eyes and see this. Well, when I close my eyes, I see a blank screen. I'm like, what's wrong with me? I don't see anything. But some of us are auditory, some of us are visual, and some of us are kinesthetic. And depending on your strength, and some have all, but some of us are really, there's one strength that we have more than another. So you just got to tap into that strength and use it, especially in acting.
yeah. I talked to John earlier, last week or two, and what you do for productions just amazes me, because it's all the part I wouldn't want to do.
Well,
You do like the bookkeeping, you do, or I like organization, but you do organization. So do you get joy? What does a line producer do, and how much joy do you get out of that? Or is it just, I mean, you
well,
ground the production in, right? You make sure.
yeah. Well, if you want to kind of look at it, the line producer is like the hands-on manager, right? It has to manage everything. Um, and yes, there is that doing the budget and doing the paperwork and doing all that stuff. None of that interests me. I do it. I'm good at all of it. But the most important thing I think you do as a line producer is that you organize people, you work with people, and you help them to do the best that they can do in their job and create that team so everybody can make the best movie that the director and the producers want to make. So you're the person who kind of puts that team together, inspires that team. So what do I love about it is I love working with people and I love people. So every time, that's one part, and the second part is, I have a saying that there's always a solution. So as a line producer, there's tons of problems all the time. Things go wrong. And some people freak out when things go wrong. But as a line producer, my thing is to always be calm and find a solution together with the team, because I may not have the answers. Sometimes I may, sometimes I may not. But as a team, we can find the answers together. And so being that person to inspire people to get the solution and get to the conclusion and the objective that you set to finish the day, to finish the week, to finish the movie. All those things are things that always make it interesting. So life is never boring for me because it's every day is another challenge, and I love challenges. So I'm kind of gifted in that way, and I get to help work with people, and that's the good part of it. It's work doing the paperwork. Who cares? That's not interesting, but the people are.
So you have like, do you, like you were talking on one of your videos, there's above the line and below the line. Can you explain what that means?
Sure, and that's a artificial division that was created years ago when they created a budget, right? So above the line is a certain group of people who are your writers who put the script together. It's like where the project starts. It starts with the script. So you have your writers, you have your producers who pick up the project and decide to get it made and go out and get the money. So you have executive producers who work on trying to get the money. Then you have creative producers who try to keep the story to be what they want it to be. They hire a director if the director is not already attached to the project. So the director's above the line as well. The line producer gets hired, like myself, to come in and manage all this. And so I'm above the line with them. Then your whole cast, then you start to cast the movie. So your casting director is part of that above the line. Then you have your cast, that's also above the line. So all the people who are Screen Actors Guild. So that's above the line. And then there's a line drawn, and then you add that up on a budget as to how much all that costs you. Then you go below the line for your production team that's going to make your movie happen. And that's everybody from your office people, your ADs, assistant directors, and who run the set, your department heads, your cinematographer, your production designer, your makeup person, your wardrobe person, your prop person, all the heads of all those departments, your transportation coordinator, and all the people that work in their departments. That's all considered below the line. So then at some point, you put in all the numbers for that, and that ends up in a budget, what the below the line numbers are. Then you have your post production numbers, which is your editors and your post production supervisors and your musicians and all the stuff that goes into the completion of the movie in post production. And then you have a little section for other things that just fit in, and that becomes your budget. So what I do as a line producer, when I get a script, I take the script and I create a shooting schedule for how many days we're going to shoot it. Are we going to shoot it in 20 days, 25, 30? And I have to create the most effective shooting schedule and how we're going to shoot every single day. So once I've created that schedule, then I can take that information and start working on a budget as to how much this is going to cost us to get into making this movie happen and work. And then those are the documents that we use to actually then, that's kind of our a plan to make it happen. And then once that happens, we go into pre-production if it's financed, and I start hiring the crew and supervising the office, supervising the production, and getting us to making of the movie. So that's a little bit of what
A lot of
what
work.
what the You know, people say that line producing is one of the hardest things. And, I've done a lot of things in my life. I worked, like I said, in the post office for 5 years. I worked in paint factories. I drove a cab. I've done everything. And to me, this is the easiest thing I've ever done in my life. So I don't know. It's all perspective. It's all
Well, it's because
perspective.
you love it. When you do what you
That's
love,
true.
it's not hard because if you're if you're doing what you don't love, you're in resistance. So things feel like mud. And if you're doing
That
what
is
you love,
correct.
it just flows. That's what people call being in the flow.
And it's like you never, there's a saying that, if you love what you're doing, you never work a day in your life. And that's true. I mean, the hours are long. Sometimes I've worked 20-hour days. I have a lot of energy, but it doesn't, it's not like work. It's just stuff that you're doing. So it doesn't tire me out because I'm enjoying the process and I have an objective and a goal and I love it. So I just feel grateful every day. I get up, I'm grateful and I'm blessed that I've gotten to this place in my life to do what I do.
Yeah. And if I was going to do a movie, like say I'm going to do something kind of, I don't know, $30 million movie budget, do I hire you? Is there like are you in a union? Is there like a fee? Do you take a fee or
Yeah, well, so what
negotiate?
happens is there's many different ways that I come on. So sometimes I can be hired on as a consultant on a project so that people can hire me as a consultant. Sometimes they'll hire me just to do a schedule and a budget so that they can see how to shoot the movie and how much it's going to cost. So they'll pay me a fee. That's usually takes me 2 or 3 weeks of work to be able to produce those documents for them. And then if the movie gets greenlit or if they decide to go forward, then they can hire me as the actual line producer to actually run the whole movie for them. So there's like pieces. You can hire me as a consultant, you can hire me to do a budget and schedule, or you can hire me to do the actual line producing of the movie. um, and so that's kind of what I do. And then I also produce movies. I'm working on trying to raise money for movies as well, so I kind of got a dual role that I play on different projects.
What's that called? If you is that what kind of is that executive
Well, that's just
producer?
the producer. That would just be, in my case, it would be the producer. I'd be a producer. And if I get the movie put together, then I'll probably hire a line producer, although I've done both jobs at the same time in previous lifetimes. But if it's a big enough project, I'd want somebody to do what I normally do, be the line producer, so I can focus on the creative.
Okay. So when as a line producer, are you in charge of hair and makeup and all that stuff? Like do you when you coordinate all these different props?
Yeah, well, so I'm in charge with the hiring of all those departments, the heads of the departments. But we do that in consultation with the director, because the director, wants a team that they are comfortable with. So I help them make those decisions as to who's the best people to hire. I put people in front of them. We do interviews, and so we'll create that team for them. Once we go into the actual shooting of a movie, the production side, then the director is on set, uh, leading the creative, obviously working with the actors, calling the shots, and then he has an assistant director who's running the set for him or her, whoever the assistant director is, she or he is running the set. And I'm then now sitting in the background, so to speak. Just I'm on set from the beginning, and that's just the way I work. I'm there from the beginning of the day to the end of the night. But I'm there to solve any problems. So I'm there, uh, game planning the next day, and if anybody has a problem, they come to me. I help them solve it. So I'm just there, but I'm not on set running the set moment to moment. That's the assistant director's job, and my job is to have more of the bigger picture stuff that I have to solve.
Yeah, we had a problem on Waterworld. We had nine
You think?
barges. We had nine
Yeah,
barges, and then they had the toilet barge. Like it was a little barge hooked to the back. And one day that everybody's like, "Where's the toilet? Where's the toilet?" And it broke off and it floated off, and they finally found it. And there was one guy, and I think it had tipped over, and the guy was in John. Right there was like
oh, nice.
five toilets on it, so they're like, "Get a helicopter, go find the toilet."
Right. Well, they had Waterworld has is known for have had a lot of financial problems on that movie. For it obviously became a case study in what not to do financially.
Well,
But
they had in Hawaii after it's like during the summer, it's the water's pretty smooth, right? And so and they were up toward the Kahala coast up north. And so it's a little rougher up there, but it's pretty smooth. But then after 3, it starts getting rough. You got 9 barges that were made at NASA, and they're all moving separately.
wow,
And they were like $1 million each. And then the uh, the production took a little longer because they didn't, I guess they didn't realize from what I've read, the that the barges are moving like this, but then they're on a barge and it's moving. So trying to stabilize a camera between 2 moving objects was a
challenge.
challenge.
Yes,
And then as the sun moves, you've got the reflection changes and the barge is
that's right.
floating, so it's moving.
That's right.
And then it got later into the day, and it got later into winter because it took an extra like 2 or 3 months. And as it got later into winter, the ocean's doing this, right? It gets rough. And so that,
Yeah.
yeah, it got rougher and rougher. And so then the shooting days got shorter and shorter. So they really didn't understand the nature of the ocean in Hawaii. Other than that,
I hear you. Yeah, that's true. A
there's certain
lot of
things
challenges.
you might not, I mean, they're from LA, right? They're not thinking about this stuff that,
Or even if they did, and I mean, they're professionals, they probably did, but you know, you just can't be prepared for everything. All of a sudden,
yeah,
something happens that you just, oh, we didn't prepare for that, or you just can't be. And now you got to solve this new problem that just gets thrown at you at the last minute. And that's kind of both the challenge and the fun of making movies, is that that's always going to be true, because you can have a plan, but when you start, the plan doesn't always work. So now you're like, you're scrambling and you're going, well, the actress missed her plane, so she's not here today. Uh-oh, what do we do now? So things go wrong
yeah,
constantly, and you just got to shift and pivot and find something else, another solution, and keep moving, because you can't control everything. And that's also the lesson I think that comes with making movies, is sometimes people in life think that they can control everything, and you can't.
yeah,
Life doesn't work that way. You can control what you do, you can control some of the choices you make, but what happens out there happens, and you got to figure out how to deal with it. And you don't get to say, "What, that shouldn't have happened." Yeah, I know it shouldn't have, but it just did. So now what do we do?
well,
So
it's funny.
that's just life.
Yeah, I thought it
So
was funny, but yeah.
yeah, I bet.
Yeah, a lot of things, when you get transparent, the higher level you get, everything becomes kind of humorous. It's like when you're low level energetically, you're like, oh my God, somebody will see that I have a pimple or whatever. It's like you have these ego issues, right? But when you're higher level, it's just kind of funny. Life gets so much more fun and funny, and part of that maybe comes with age also. You're I call it being transparent. Like your little problems don't bother you now that would have bothered you when you were younger and you first started out. I'm sure because we all,
Yeah, and that's a good choice to make, to have a sense of humor about things, and have things put in perspective. Like a lot of people say, we're only making a movie, we're not curing cancer. So don't give it such intensity that you're going to get all bent out of shape. Realize what you're doing. You're making a movie. You want to make the best movie you want, but don't give it a level that doesn't make sense. Relax, have a sense of humor, enjoy the process, do all those things that make it worthwhile, enjoy the people that you're working with. All those things lead to a good experience. And so that's why as you say, as you some comes with age, some comes with just making better choices or adopting a different belief about how you can do things. So
yeah, different attitude.
correct.
I teach your
Absolutely.
attitude is your altitude. So,
A great quote, a great saying. That
well,
that is totally great.
and when you understand energy, you kind of get that, right? And as an actor, you know how to run different energies because you had to. You've got so many projects in the works right now too. That's amazing.
Yeah, well, it just seems that I'm trying to get in so much before like I say, it's like I play basketball, and when you're in the fourth quarter, it's like the last quarter, so it's like you got so much, but it's the game's going to end. Well, for all of us, at some point, this game here right now ends. So we all have things that we'd like to do that we're passionate about, and that's why sometimes you tell people, whatever your dreams are, whatever your passions are, just go out and do it, because you don't know when the clock's going to run out on the game. So get busy, get out there, enjoy the process, enjoy life, and do what you want to do. And that way you'll, at the end, whenever that end is for you, you won't look back and say, I have regrets. You'll just be, I gave it my all. I enjoyed this process, and I threw everything out there, and it was good. It was good.
Oh, that was great. That was a great quote. You might want to clip that one when you get the recording. That was great. Yeah, I know you do motivational speaking and everything, and some of my Toastmaster friends are on here. So
Well, I did originally do a little with Toastmasters just to get that experience before I moved on and started doing some inspirational speaking myself. And there's a lot to learn there from Toastmasters for sure. And obviously, structure, overcoming fear, putting yourself out there, being able to respond, quickly with whatever's needed in the moment. So there's great skill sets that they teach to people who are learning to speak or want to speak. And the other side of this, and this is kind of fits to what you're doing here with the other speakers as well, is stories are so important. Whether it's a movie, you got a story. It's a story, but our lives are stories. And uh, uh, realizing that you have the power of making your story be the story you want. Do you want your story to be a tragedy? Do you want it to be a horror movie? I mean, is that the life you want to create for yourself? That people go, wow, that person's life is a horror. That's, you have that power over your story by the choices you make. And so to me, realizing that you can change your story at any point in your life, you can take whatever you lived up to this point is the past, but you have control of today, and you got control of tomorrow as you go forward each day. So whatever happened is the past. Now you get to create a new story should you choose to create a new story of your life. So if your life was a warning, now turn it into a message where people can get something out of it. And you have that. Everybody who's watching this today have the ability to do that. It's just believing, like you said earlier, Lisa, just not holding back, not believing in limitation in yourself, not limiting yourself, but go find your strength, find your courage, and move towards the strength and move towards the courage. We all have limitations. We all have things we don't feel like we can do. But guess what? You'll surprise yourself if you try. You will do it. You'll be able to overcome and do much more than you think you can.
Yeah, that was great. It builds like this event. It builds. It's when I first started running, I was 58, and
Wow.
I
Wow.
walked up the hill, and I started to walk up the hill, and all at once I got, and it was just a hill. It was a big hill, but I'd only gone like 15 feet. And I got, oh my God, I'm going to have a heart attack. My heart was going, and I'm like, oh, who does that belong to? Because I know how to do consciousness. And it's
Uh-huh.
my dad. And it
Huh.
flew away. That thought flew away because we're not our thoughts. Those thoughts are not ours. And I picked it up when I was a kid. And I
That's right.
realized it had kept me back for many years from working out because I get this fear. And it flew away. And and he'd had 3 heart attacks by the time I was like 6 or 7. And
Wow.
so he radiated this fear. And as a little kid, we're sponges. We like pick this energy up and we think it's us. And so when you clear that, it's easier to move forward. And now I run in 5 mile races. I have one in 2 months, July 4th.
Wow. That's great. Congratulations.
Yeah,
That's
thank
cool.
you. But I had to go through resistance, is what, most people call it. I had to go through resistance to do that. And if you have total fear, don't do it. Like slow down, take it easy, one step at a time. But if you kind of go, oh, I don't think that's mine. Where did that's not mine. I didn't get it. Just deny it, and it'll fly away. It's not yours, and then you can move forward. And I want to put this stuff because see, I see ghosts, dead people. They're not dead. Nobody's dead. But I see multi-dimensional layers, and I see choices, and I see uh, things floating around, and I see a lot of things people aren't conscious of. I hear them, and I'm clairvoyant, clairsentient, empathic, and a lot of things we don't have words for. And I want to bring that into the entertainment industry in films and pictures, but not as a superhero. I because that's kind of a false reality. It helps the kids. It helps people dream. I love those shows, but I want to bring it in that we're all having these experiences. Everybody's had certain experiences where they went, oh, wow. All at once they realized something outside their box. And I want to put that in shows. And I realized when I've been pondering this for over 20 years. And when I saw, I think it was Inception, I realized with digital, they could do it now within a budget. Because before that, it would have been really expensive and kind of looked hokey.
Well, the technology has gotten so much more advanced, and recently there's a new technology that's also being used, and I think that is
Like
what you're.
Mandalorian, that one is
Yeah,
that
exactly. The
yeah,
Mandalorian,
yeah,
the LED wall, which is
yeah.
like green screen, but at another level. It's taken it to another level, and it's both creatively excellent, but it also offers financial benefits for independent films who couldn't afford to do those big kind of things and go to 12 countries or stuff like that. Now you have an ability to do it in a stage in a smaller environment and still create great content. So yeah, there's a lot of interesting technology coming out that people can tap into to create stories. And for me, one of the movies I most like nowadays is that I tend to like true stories and movies that are based on true stories, and in particular, movies that are based on people who've lived lives of overcoming adversity and obstacles. Because to me, those are the stories that resonate most with me. That you know, a lot of people have, whatever. We all have challenges. Not everybody in life. Some people are, have a pretty blessed life, but most of us come in with challenges, whether they're financial or physical challenges or you name it. And the people who find a way to overcome in life and overcome those obstacles make for great stories, I think. And for me, that resonates with me. So those are the kind of movies I like to, where possible, get involved and make and tell. So that's kind of a little bit of my journey. I guess at some point, if you want, we could open up for questions either now or a little bit later, but that's up to you.
But no, it's up to you if you want to open up.
Oh, okay. I'm always good with asking, letting people, if people have questions, maybe that's if you would like to do that, if you want to do it now or do it in 5 minutes, just give people some time to weigh in because you have an audience here, and
Yeah.
I always love to interact with people because that's what
Oh,
I
I
love.
wanted to tell you, I think that's how the people who taught me how to do this event are the
Uh
people
huh.
who do Tony's events, Tony Robbins.
Uh huh.
And I'm just like, have no budget. And he had 5 to 8 million, I think. Little difference in
Yeah.
budget. But
Yeah.
this is like an
But
independent
but
film as opposed to, right?
but here's I'm going to age myself here, but that's okay. But Tony, when Tony started out, when I attended his event in New York back in the day, he was picked up by some people that I knew and taken to speak at the event in a limousine. He had never been in a limousine in his life back then. So
Wow.
where he is today was not where he started. I mean, he was a kid from Azusa up in California. He worked as a janitor. Um, he was somebody who had no wealth in his life and had no clue what that was. But he went on that journey and that path, and he created where he is today because of his own hard work and effort and what he learned from other people that he then took, synthesized it, and shared it with other people so that we could all take advantage of the lessons of all these cutting edge people so we could apply it to our lives and move forward to achieve our goals and our dreams.
Well, the way the universe works, and a lot of people might need to know this, is because I was raised in a very dense, dark place. My parents were abusive alcoholics. My dad was a misogynist,
Mm,
and and I was abused, and we were beat like regularly. And what happens is you choose when you incarnate, you choose it's like a video game. Like, do you want to play expert or do you want to play beginner? And I played expert. I dove into all this crap, and it's in the genetics too. And so then as you wake up, you go further, and that's what Tony did. He dove into hellacious childhood, and then when he woke up, that gave him the motivation to help feed the world. And because he had times he didn't have food, and
correct.
and we all chose that. A lot of us are masters who came here. In fact, we probably all are who are on here, who came here to shift reality. And a lot of us had pretty dense childhoods and things like that because you don't want to get bored. I mean, if you just
That's one way.
incarnated and everything was good and everything, it'd be like playing a video game. You get bored pretty quick, right? Yeah, just unmute yourself and ask your question of John.
Okay, Heidi wanted to ask a question. You want to ask something, Heidi? You want to unmute yourself?
Hi John, thank you for coming. Thank you for having me here. So nice to meet you. Just a quick question. Sorry, I talk too much. For the link that Lisa just pasted into the chat, the Duffy Square Productions. Is it like your production company that you are directing movies at, or what is it? I could not tell.
Yeah, producing movies. I'm a producer, so that's the link, and then you use that. You can also get my email from that. You can also go to my YouTube channel.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
And on the YouTube channel, I have a bunch of. I have two types of videos on my YouTube channel. I have videos on film and film production, and then I have some motivational videos as well. So you can check them out on my YouTube channel.
Oh my God, that's amazing. Okay, I'm gonna check that out. And so, aside from like producing movies, like, do you cast actors and actresses too, or?
I don't usually. That is done by the casting director and also by the direct work and the director working with the casting director. So usually that's not my responsibility. So I'm handling the production side of it, and we hire a casting director, and then the casting director will bring in actors that the director wants.
Okay, yeah. So, yeah. So you might not work with me anytime soon then, because I'm
Not
starting.
well, unless you end up on a film that I'm working on, then we might end up doing. If you got cast by the director and the casting director, and you're on the film, then of course we'll run across each other. But that would be in the capacity that we would cross paths.
Okay, okay, yeah, because I am starting out as like a beginning aspiring actress. I think I messaged you a little bit earlier too. Yeah, and I'm looking for like opportunities to get my first gig in the business to break into the industry. I'm still looking. I guess I'm still really young, so yeah, so that's why I thought
Keep,
yeah.
keep at it. Keep at it. You just got it. You don't give up. That's all I can say. It takes a
Oh,
while. It takes a while. You'll get that role.
thank you so much, John. Nice meeting you. I'll email
You're
you.
welcome, Heidi. Nice meeting you.
Thank.
Who
Okay.
else? Somebody had a hand up. Oh, Valeka Gray?
Hey there, John. It's Valika, like Eureka. Um,
Valika. Sorry about that, Valika.
I was at Tony's first New York visit. I think it was July of 1985. Were you there?
Oh no, let me see. July of '85. Uh, no, I might have been at a second one then. I think mine was like '86 or '87. It was at 34th Street in Manhattan.
Yeah.
and maybe it was the same one. I can't even remember the date. But it was like a couple of blocks away from my post office because I was working midnight shift at the post office. And so I figured, okay, it's only a few blocks away. I can do it. And of course, the firewalk went till I was supposed to be in work at 12. The firewalk went to like 2:30 in the morning.
It did.
And when I got in there, I just looked around and it was kind of funny. It was like I saw the whole post office. It was like a light, a different light. And I just looked around and said, 5 years, what am I doing here? I'm out of here. And that decision was the decision that changed my life.
Well, good for you, because the main thing it did to me, for those of you who have not had the firewalk experience, I was I was a big doubting Thomas at the time. And I'd met Tony earlier in Los Angeles through Bob and Bob Bodie and Linda Raff, and they had introduced him to my company. It was a multi-level
okay.
consultancy in America. But anyway, Tony became a member, but I was so doubtful about anything. I was kind of pretty much down on my luck at the time. It was my karma, Lisa. But anyway, when I actually did the firework and didn't burn my feet until I looked down. So when I looked down, I was like, oh my God, this really is hot. Changed my life. I realized anything is possible.
It is. And like I said, I've done it many times before, and I got burned one time. One time I every step I took, I got burned. And, and once again, when I got to the other side with my burns on my feet, my mind just kind of reframed it, because that's one of the things you learn is reframing a situation. And it
Right.
reframed it and it said, well, this is just another metaphor for life. Sometimes you get burned, sometimes you don't, but you don't stop going just because you get burned. Because if you do, then you'll never achieve anything, because you won't take any risk, because there's always a danger involved in taking risks. So that's life. And so I was glad that I got burned for the first time, because up until that point, I was like, is this real? I've never gotten burned. How can it?
Right.
It's probably nothing. Now, at that point, I got the reality that yes, this is real. You can get burned, and that's life. And life
Yep.
it's okay. It's okay to go forward even if you get burned.
Well, thanks for sharing, John. So nice to meet you.
It was so nice to meet you as well. Thank you. Next up is somebody I do know who has his hand up, Tommy Anderson. Tommy, unmute yourself.
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Very good, Tommy. How are you
Uh,
doing? Tommy
I'm
is a writer. He's written books. He's written screenplays. He had a movie to screen last night in the GI Film Festival. So go ahead, Tommy.
No, I just wanted to say thank you for inviting me to this. I learn something every time I talk to you or listen to you, and you're an inspiration to anybody out there that has some doubts. You're a perfect example of anything is possible. So I just want to say thank you for doing this, and thank you for inviting me.
You're very welcome. And Tommy has lived an amazing life. He's been in two branches of the military. He was a firefighter, and he's recreated himself so many times. And now he's a filmmaker and an author and a speaker and a podcaster. And he's somebody, and I attract people like that because I encourage everybody to keep recreating yourself. A lot of times in the old days, people were just one thing for their whole life. They got into a job and that was all they were, and that became their limitation. But I think we're like Tommy. I'm blessed that we have the possibility to recreate ourselves in as many ways as we want to recreate ourselves and start over again in another career, another path, as long as we love what we're doing and we're passionate about it. So Tommy's someone like that. So he's a friend for life. And I just encourage everybody who's watching this that whatever your fear is or your limitation, don't let it stop you. Get past it. Find the people to help you get past it. Find the way past it. But be courageous to go forward and make your dreams a reality.
Yeah, that is profound, John. And even asking for help. Some people, it took me a long time to even, and this event has helped me to learn to ask for help. And filmmaking is such a collaborative thing. You have to have other people help you. You can't do it alone. It's impossible unless you're doing a home video. Basically.
That's right.
Yeah. I mean, if you want something that's going to have high quality and be good, you need help. And
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
reinventing yourself. I started this at 64. I'm 65 now. It's like you just keep reinventing yourself and moving forward.
Because every day you wake up and you're alive and you're healthy is another day to recreate yourself. There's another day to keep going. It's like, when people ask me when am I going to retire, I say, well, if I wake up and there's 6 feet of dirt on top of me, I guess I retired. But until that moment happens, I'm not retiring from life because there's too much to enjoy and too much to do and too much to share and help others. And so it's like, let's keep going. Let's enjoy this process. We've been blessed with life. Let's use it.
Yeah, and retired. I teach people retired. Tired. You're telling the
Yes.
universe, I'm tired.
I'm tired. Yeah. Why would you want to be
don't
tired?
Want to tell the universe you're tired. You want
No.
to go, no, new reality, new career, new moving forward, new fun. So I put
100%.
links in there again. Yeah, this has been awesome.
Well, thank you, Lisa, for reaching out to me. Thank you for offering me the opportunity to speak to the audience here in your group. Thank you for taking the step forward yourself and the courage to put this together for everybody. And so I appreciate that. And I appreciate you for doing that. And so for all your audience, just wish them to find that energy to go forward with all their dreams and make them a reality.
Thank you, John.